Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads Chapter 14 of Pinocchio, a but instead of boy. All seemed to be settled. Pinocchio had finally proven himself and was now ready to become a real boy. However, in a certain puppet's life, there was always a but bound to spoil everything. "Can I go hand out the invitations?" Pinocchio asked Fairy. "Of course," Fairy replied, "but be sure to be back home before dark." "I promise," Pinocchio said. "It's easy to give a promise," Fairy warned, "but not so easy to keep it." "It's a cinch," Pinocchio declared confidently. "We'll see," Fairy said. Pinocchio ran around town. Within an hour, handed out all of his invitations but one, Lampwick's. Lampwick was Pinocchio's best friend. His real name was Romeo, but everyone called him Lampwick because of his long, thin, string-like face. He was the laziest boy in school, but Pinocchio still loved him. It took a very long time, but finally Pinocchio found Lampwick hiding in an alley. Lampwick explained he was waiting until sunset, at which point he planned to run far, far away. "How?" Pinocchio asked. "A wagon is coming by, and I'm going to hop on," Lampwick explained. "But haven't you heard?" Pinocchio asked. "Tomorrow I'm becoming a real boy. I'm having a party and you have to come." "Terribly sorry," Lampwick said, "but I told you, I leave tonight for Funland. It's a magical land with no schools, teachers, or books. Every day is Saturday except Sunday. All you do is play. You should come too." Pinocchio had to admit this magical place called Funland sounded wonderful. He had made Fairy a promise, and he was about to become a real boy. Just then he also heard his additional promise to Fairy that he would return home before dark, and the sun was starting to set. "I gotta go," he cried. "Fairy will scold me." Let her scold," scoffed Lampwick. "After a few minutes she'll get tired and stop." Pinocchio considered that. Then he asked, "Are there really no schools in this Funland place? Not even the shadow of a school?" "Not a one." Both boys watched as the sun dipped below the horizon. "It's dark already," Lampwick pointed out. "You're already in trouble." The boys could hear the wheels of an approaching wagon in the distance. "Well," the rascal, Pinocchio said. When the wagon arrived, 12 pairs of donkeys were pulling it. Each one was a different color, and they were all wearing sneakers. The driver was a round, shiny little man with a big, friendly smile. "Climb aboard, boys," he cried. But the wagon was packed with other boys that looked like a can of sardines. There was simply no room. "I'll sit up front with you," Lampwick said to the driver. "And what about you?" the driver said to Pinocchio. "I'll stay behind," Pinocchio said. "It's for the best. I'll go home and study." "No!" cried Lampwick and all the other bad boys. "Come with us and we'll always be happy. We can play with toys and make lots of noise from morning till night." "Well," Pinocchio said, wavering. "Okay, but there's no room for me." "You can ride on the donkeys," the driver said. And climbing aboard, Pinocchio did just that. But as the donkeys galloped along the bumpy road, Pinocchio imagined he heard a very quiet voice whispering to him, "You are making a mistake." And after about a mile or so, Pinocchio heard the whispering again. "Oh, silly simpleton," it said. "Boys who run away from home and school can only come to no good. Someday you will realize that, but it will be too late." Spooked, Pinocchio jumped off the donkey he had been riding and ran to look him in the face. "Did you say something?" he asked. The donkey just stared at him blankly. But did Pinocchio imagine it, or was the donkey crying? "Oh, don't worry about that dumb animal," the driver snapped. "Come back on, let's go our way." Pinocchio obeyed, and the wagon resumed its journey. The next morning they finally reached the magical land of fun. And what a place it was! It was entirely composed of boys and toys. Everywhere you looked, boys were playing. Some played marbles, others hopscotch or basketball, some played tag, and others did handstands. The boys couldn't be happier. The weeks passed like lightning. And to think, Lampwick said to Pinocchio, you were going to stay home and miss all the fun. And to think, teacher told me you were a bad influence, Pinocchio added. The fun times continued and the months passed. One morning, however, Pinocchio woke up to a surprise. His ears had turned into donkey ears. They were at least 10 inches long and as hairy and gray as shoe brushes. He started to cry bitterly. Upon hearing the sobs, a fat little squirrel came to the room. Oh, she said, nodding, as you have the fever. What fever? The squirrel shook her head sadly. The donkey fever. I've never heard of it. Is it serious? A squirrel told Pinocchio that in 3 hours he would no longer be a puppet or boy, but would turn completely into a donkey. How did that happen? Pinocchio asked. It happens to all boys who hate books and schools and teachers and who spend their days concerned only with fun, the squirrel explained. But it's not my fault, Pinocchio cried. Lampwick is the one who suggested I come here. He is a horrible influence. Pinocchio was determined to go find Lampwick and give him a piece of his mind. Putting a large cotton bag with eye holes over his head to hide those horrible donkey ears, Pinocchio got ready to go. When he reached the door and opened it, however, his friend was standing right there. Lampwick had come to him, and he too was wearing a cotton bag over its head. Could it be? Why are you wearing that bag? Pinocchio demanded. You first, Lampwick said. I bruised my knee, Pinocchio said. I stubbed my toe, Lampwick replied. After a few minutes of not meeting each other, Pinocchio finally spoke up. Tell me, Lampwick, he said, might you be suffering from some sort of earache? I might be, Lampwick replied. You too? The boys agreed that on the count of three they would pull off their cotton bags and reveal themselves. On three, the bag came off, and once you know, both boys stood there with identical donkey ears. It was so ridiculous they had to laugh. The laughter soon stopped, however, when other parts of their body began to change. As they watched in horror, their arms turned into long, hairy legs, and their faces lengthened into snouts. Their backs became broader and grew long bristles. Then, all of a sudden, both of them grew donkey tails. Pinocchio opened his mouth to say something, but all that came out was a donkey bray. Haw, haw, Lampwick replied. At another moment, there was a loud knock on the door. Who could it be? Okay, that's it for today. See you later.